Hello, everybody. Alex here, and we're chatting about games, gaming stuff, whatever, whatever happens to come to mind. But no, today, following up from, hopefully, if I if I sequence these correctly, the last episode where we were chatting a bit about Doom and Shotgun King: The Final Checkmate, and what makes a game keep a player engaged for beyond like the first like initial little bit, right? And so there's like different levels to engagement, I guess, and like acquiring your user. It's if like you think of it as like a sales or a marketing funnel, right? that kind of extends all the way down into like the product level itself, or the game, as we, in this case. And so there's like different amounts of people are making their way to each stage of the thing, from hearing about it to like wish listing, buying a game, opening up the game, playing it for like an hour, like, and then beating it, like going all the way down there. Obviously, you're going to have progressively less and less people make your way through this funnel, but for different groups have like different concerns of what of where you need to get a user to, like so like someone who is concerned about the business financials of the product of the game is going to be concerned with those initial parts of the pipeline all the way up to when you get money, right? Of that is like the most like direct thing that is aligning with the metrics that they're using to evaluate like their job performance. When you're looking at a game studio as a business, like that's what you want, right? That is what you need to know to operate, is like how expensive does it take to convert people from through all the steps of the funnel down to that layer. And how many can you do? Can you get out of it? How many do you need to like offset your development cost? All this stuff, right? Oh, just got to the highway and we seem to have a crash. That's not great. That means a longer episode for all of you lovely people, though. So I hope you enjoy. But it, for the like a game designer, someone who is concerned with like ongoing engagement within the game, or even trying to like get people to play the game all the way through, or even play it multiple times, do this and that. That is like it's a very related but different concern, right? Because when it comes to after you've bought the product, it then becomes about like the actual design of the product itself that is going to inform it. So this is like baked in, as opposed to being primarily secondary material, like with a marketing or a sales campaign type thing, right? So I think for today we'll concern ourselves primarily with that second problem, and that's like how you keep a player engaged enough to make their way more totally through. In case you're wondering, I think actually it looks like it was a pullover, not an accident. So that's a little better. So we'll bring this back to the practical example was Doom, right? Was original Doom was Alex's playthrough of this game from the 90s that you probably have never heard of. But Doom is a little interesting because it's it is obviously like an older game at this point. It has some limitations technically that more modern games don't suffer from, and have found a lot of like newer solutions to the problems. But still, Doom manages to have like good enough engagement during the game where people have been willing to sink like thousands of hours into it, and to the wide array of like fan modding stuff, like a bunch of community driven content, right? Of the core thing was interesting enough to get people to do that. So the tools that Doom doesn't have is it doesn't really have that much room in the game to tell like some sort of like plot story, or we'll say mostly a plot, and that's because games of this time, especially PC games, a lot of them would lean heavily on the supplementary material to the game. So stuff like the packaging, the manual, even Doom was like a shareware piece of software. So on that like original server, you were getting the like the Doom binaries from, like you would you could have material there, reading material of like what it is that you're actually downloading, and obviously nowadays like it's kind of frowned upon to be reliant on this sort of secondary material for that kind of stuff. Like no one the game manual as a concept has kind of been dead for at least like the last decade or so, right? Of like, when is the last time you've really seen one of those, that especially one that was like super beefy, that had like all of the this background material on it? It's been a long time, and so Doom is doesn't have that ability. And like definitely, during the course of my playthrough, I was feeling that, some problems with that of like, what is the progression here? And like this is, because this has to be a more pure example of how like the gameplay and the progression of that is continuing to keep you engaged. I'm mixing up my tenses here. Just by revealing new stuff, by making developments, with Doom, it's got like the things that it's able to lean on is like slowly you're adding different enemy varieties, but ultimately in Doom, I think there just frankly aren't that many. And you see most of all the types of enemies by the end of episode 1, right? There's the like subtle ways that the levels are, like the level theming, the textures are starting to, and design is starting to change. Like as you go from episode 1 to episode 3, you see more, or less and less industrial, more and more of like the hellscape, the blood and lava, and or all this like creepy organic matter, right? So there, you can capture a that feeling of progression by just the way that the look of the game is changing, and then of course there's like the progression and sort of like your the weaponry that you're unlocking, of you're starting out like the very first like level, you just have the pistol basically, and then you're slowly get access to the shotgun, and then the chain gun, plasma gun, all this stuff. But like what is a little weird with original Doom is that between episodes, that progress gets reset, and you like lose your inventory, and that allows the that allowed the campaign design to sort of like I guess give you more time with some of these higher tier guns earlier on, but also be able to do like levels later on where you have like very tight ammo budgets or weapon availability. Like say the first like few missions in episode 3, you have because it's the start of a new episode, your inventory is wiped away, and so you're basically just back to the pistol and all of your ammo stores are gone. And so it actually introduces like maybe you never ran out of ammo before that point. You never needed to really be super precise with your aiming or have to have to do any of these considerations, because like the ammo caps in Doom are just so huge. But like they were still able to get you that experience like later on, and you see like, and this is obviously this is a huge tangent here, but like later FPS games tackled this problem in different ways. Like everyone is familiar with like the level where they take away your inventory and you're back to square one for a little bit, and that like maybe you introduce like you force the player to like be more stealthy or use some of like their knowledge that they've accumulated since the start of the game, and have to but like with the tools they had back then, right? Or you have like like a game that has more like where the just like inventory management like plays out a little bit more differently, like in Halo, where you only can carry 2 guns at once, and the gun and ammo economy is all coming from killing enemies and getting pickups off of them, as opposed to them being placed in the level somewhere, right? So whole that's a freebie. But so in Doom, like I definitely found that, especially in episode 1, where especially early on, like what being a little confused about like what the hook was, first of all, of like just getting dropped in after you like click a couple buttons to start the game. Like what am I doing? What is going on? And that not being explicit in the game itself, I think definitely is a like it could be like a very quick strike against the game, and like cause someone to be like to just lose interest very quickly. I would think if you looked at like a modern player trying to play Doom for the first time and opening up the game, you would see a lot of fall off like immediately like that, and I think that is the case probably in a lot of games of sometimes there are just things that make you drop off like instantly of and there's like a number of reasons like this could be, but that is like the very first part of that retention is getting that initial like gameplay starts, first impression down, and like giving and having some kind of direction to it, right? There's the great little series of like clips that somebody has been uploading on YouTube called like how not to start your game, and it's they're all from like Jonathan Blow's stream, and he is like a grumpy very opinionated game designer, and it just goes through a bunch of examples of like, here are things that made John quit a game like just right off the bat, and you could have things like there are problems with the game technically, like something just doesn't work or is not tuned right. There's a problem with the design of like what to do. Maybe like the initial level is just like very poor, and it leads you to like not wanting to continue, or it's too samey. There's like too many cutscenes. Like there are like a myriad number of reasons, but I think that series like that is really good, really good data for like this is one of like the most choosy people in gaming. One of the people that have developed like the like some sort of like refined taste for how games should play out and catch your interest like off the bat. And these are all the problems that can cause you to just fail, and then if you do, that essentially just invalidates all of the rest of the work you put into the game after the like your title screen, right? Because if you think about it, like the that's why there is so much time, money, and attention put into things like marketing and the title of the game, the logo, the little capsule art on Steam, is because these are things that like if you look at the funnel, like that's where the highest amount of people are interacting with that content. And so if you think about like your value that you're getting from any piece of your whole like business, so from marketing to product, right? That is like determined by the cost and the payoff, which is also which is in some part like value generated to number of users that are interacting with that. So you could think of, say, like again, like that Steam capsule art is such like a highly valued thing because everybody is interacting with that, and that is one of those pieces of packaging that is selling the game, controlling that very important part of the funnel. Whereas like if you have some like random secret level squirreled away somewhere that like, or like that no one is like, so few people are going to see, or if like again you have something screwed up with your game design that causes people to quit super early, then level 50 having some bug or having like some kind of like cool like little hidden secret path out of it, it becomes like almost like a completely worthless use of your time, because you just know like no one is gonna get to that point, right? And like that's important because you only have finite time and budget to do all the things in your game that that you need to do, and obviously at that at those ends too, right? One thing that like gamers with certain types of games value like high amounts of polish and quality in the experience, and that can come from things like those sorts of like low exposure paths. And here's a practical example: is like Dark Souls 1 has this secret level where there's like some hidden wall in like in Blighttown or whatever, and in like the swamp below Blighttown, and that leads you to like this hidden tree level, right? And at the end of the hidden tree level is another hidden wall that leads you to the hidden like Ash Lake area. And this is like a full 3D model designed area with its own like special like covenant inside, its own like faction, unique like enemy placement and design, some like cool like little encounters and types of geometry that and theme that you don't see anywhere else in the game, and like that existing and that being in there is one of the reasons why people love Dark Souls so much, is that it does have that that level of polish and attention to detail placed on it. But like if the initial experience, or if the experience of Dark Souls was so poor that like everybody was falling off the game before they got to that, then like okay, like you can polish this like later secret area as much as you want, but it's going to be like a just waste of your time and energy, right? So like quality is like a thing that you have to like keep hitting across the board, right? Because there's some like level where like people are going to fall off, and people like naturally are going to fall off at different parts of the thing. But that is just like so important, and I think like you really just find that out through like play testing and and telemetry, right? Of like where how far people are getting into a game, and like where are the pain points, where are people getting frustrated or bored, and that becomes like where like you have to do the testing after the fact. And like in software, or in like regular commercial software, not in games, you call that like A/B testing, right? And so like the most successful software companies, like like a Facebook or a Netflix, they have these incredible infrastructures set in place to deploy out like little micro features to subsets of users, and then go collect the data on how that affects retention or usage of like shipping like a different layout for like a button or something, and then collecting the results of like, did that affect like the amount of people like pressing the button? Did that affect like any of these like secondary things, like how average like session time, or like amount of engagement during a session, whatever, and that data and that testing like translates into a product that is that has like higher and higher retention over time. And then that's how you get like Duolingo, I think, is of like user commercial software. I guess not commercial, but like consumer software. Like that is one of the companies that has spent like the most on that engagement, and they were able to build like incredible habits in people, where like like my fiance is on day 1400 of her Duolingo streak or something. Like, oh, like holy smokes, like that, like if to get someone to do that like requires some pretty impressive design and engineering, right? To get someone to willingly spend their time doing that, and then like for games that are like live service games, like this is obviously like the key to their recurring revenue, is this are these targets, right? Of like and that translates into a bunch of real effects, like Fortnite's engagement went down in the past year, and that translated to Epic laying off like 1,000 employees or something. and so like it's also like a especially with live service, the engagement is this big moving goalpost too, right? Because people's attention is being consumed by different things, and that's changing day in, day out. To bring it back to like our Doom example, this was probably not a consideration in the slightest when Carmack and Romero and whomever were creating that original Doom, because the culture at that time favored was like you had to put in like some legwork to go buy a game, right? To go buy, install, run, go to the store for retail and get a game, and you had so much less competition for entertainment and like what other games people had, what was out there. It's like a totally different world, and like that, the fact that like today, this is such a, people blame people's that attention spans are falling or whatever, but it's not really that. It's just like everything, now is just so hyper optimized for engagement and retention that like these old things, people just fall off of them because they were not, they're like, that was just not a priority. They didn't think of it as much, and it is not as good a piece of content. And all you have to do, all you have to do it is try playing one of these like old games, or better yet, I guess maybe not better yet, but I think pretty obvious example is you watch like an old TV show from before like the early 2000s, some sort of like network syndication show of just like how much like worse quality those things are compared to like the very the TV shows we have now, where, oh my God, some guy's driving like a jackass, where they have to compete against just a much tougher streaming and quality content market, and they're not relying on basically just having like a monopoly on the airwaves for your time, and they don't stream all these newer shows. They don't have like all these ad breaks built into them, which are it's just unimaginable now. If if you're to subject yourself to like a show with ads, of like how exhausting that is today, because it's just like not something that you like have to deal with as much on newer stuff. So I guess to close the door on this conversation here, games and like entertainment, and even not just entertainment, but like everything, has just become so competitive with engagement and retention, that it makes it that like even the smallest things, like not having a text screen that just tells you like what the plot of the game is, is just so dangerous, to like people like turning the game off and then not seeing all the rest of the awesome stuff that's in there. And I think last time we talked a little bit about some of the other stuff in Doom, of like the it's a game that's like, it has this kind of like complex, like semi-interesting, like sci-fi premise, but then just like doesn't have anything going on with that, because it's just like technically they were pushing they were pushing the limits of what was going on the computers at that point. But it's just I don't know. It really makes you appreciate like just how strong that core gameplay is, that it is able to survive without all of that that extra stuff. And that's got to be like a real like high mark for the designers of Doom, that core game is still fun and interesting and like has enough to carry you through till now. But I think it's I think it is. I think if you were to look at the data, and actually, I played this on the Doom 1+2 enhanced port on GOG, and I think it said like the average playtime for all users is like 2.5 hours or something, right? And that is those people are not beating the game, and that this is for this release has like 8 different full campaigns in it of Doom 1 and 2 and all these like other level packs, and 2.5 hours is means that they are falling off sometime in like part way through Doom 1. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm not privy to enough of this data myself to like give you any takeaways, but I think it's like so interesting of like what are these things that can cause just like an instant game over to your game design, and like what games are like strong enough to overcome that and to make you keep coming back. So if you have any games that that come to mind that have been able to that you like instantly found something just so just like had so much friction that you stopped playing like immediately, or of like a game where there is some like pretty clear point where a lot of people fall off of it, leave that in the comments. And if there are games where you've experienced some of this stuff, but there was something still in there that was so compelling and so interesting that it kept you going enough to like to see it through, leave that in the comments too. Like, hopefully we can all learn something from that and also find some some of those games that are super awesome enough to overcome those shortcomings. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you.